What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Reffing with the Sappers, our first review in a couple weeks. But today we're going to go back to a game from September 30th. This was a game between Roseville Premier. They'll be in the black. Lincoln's going to be in the white. These were U14 Boys. It was an exciting match. Ended up with a red card because of something a player said to us while we were on the pitch. Let's watch the game. So for this game, I was the center referee. We had Katie here, what'll be on the near side of the field on the, I believe that was the Roseville side. And then we had Tin Nguyen, who is one of the director of referees for Roseville. He was actually on the far side of the field. So great crew. Let's watch the game. Right out of the gate in kind of minute 2, we've got the black team coming up on the side here, and right there, this white player kicks the ball out, and I actually called a trip here, but if we watch this in slow motion, it looks like the white player toe pokes this ball to the side, and then, now he's established that play on the ball, and the black player initiates contact over his extended leg. I called that as a trip. It's funny, as you watch it here, the kid doesn't even think it was a foul, but I make them bring it back and do a kick because I thought it was kind of unfair contact after getting the ball. But looking at it with this angle, seems pretty clear that probably should have just let that one play. So we're going to have a deduction right out of the gate on this one.
Might be our worst score yet. 100% wrong.
100% wrong so
What is
far.
that, rewriting life choices score?
That's why we're not going to start scoring. That's why we're not going to summarize it just yet. Moving on to minute 3, white is on the attack here in the middle of the field, and this black player right behind him is going to kind of grab him, hold him, maybe push him just a little bit right there. I kind of watch that to see if he plays through it, but then when it's clear that he's not going to get an advantage, I quickly call that and give white a direct free kick coming there at midfield. In minute 5, we've got another call for a push. We're looking at these two players in the middle of the screen that are kind of battling for the ball, and black kind of has position on it, and then white goes to get a little unfair advantage, gives him that shove right there, pushes him off the ball. So pretty easy call to make there, and giving the kick to black coming out of that position. In the 7th minute of the game, we've got a couple players battling for it on the black's defending third. It's going to move to the edge of the camera, so we'll have to watch it as it gets to the edge. But right there, this white player just kind of shoves black off of that to, ends up sending him down. Can't see what happens kind of after that. But I call that and give the direct free kick to black for that particular offense. Not more than about 30 seconds later, we've got the ball and on this end of the field with black and white battling for it. And right here, there's a quick bump, but I felt that this, maybe black's a little bit behind him, felt like that was okay. And then here they kind of both shove each other a little bit, so it's kind of 50-50, so I'm still content to let that play. But then right there, when the ball comes over, this 33 really holds back this white player to where he can't go and get a fair challenge on that ball. So a lot of kind of 50-50 or close to calls there, but then I end up seeing that and it just kind of crossed the line, the threshold, so called that one and gave white a direct free kick. Now we're up to 5 decisions with 1 deduction. We're starting to hit our stride. We're warmed up.
What was that like? It's not a good game. It's an okay game.
It's an okay game. We're now into okay game category. We're getting warmed up.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of 4 minutes go by. We're now into minute 12, and the ball's coming up the near side of the field. Black's got control of it, and he's kind of shielding white off of it, and then he kind of feels him on him, and then right there you just see him lean back. Oh, I need some more space. I'm going to make some more space. So he shoves this 12 off of that. So, pretty easy to call.
Did a dance move. Our next decision is going to be Spa on the field. So over here, the black player is bringing it up to his attacking third, and right here we can see that number 8 goes through his body, pushes him down a little bit. Even though that he gets a ball, he still goes through his back and extends an arm, so that's a foul. But let's look at the reasons why we would think that this would be Spa. So the first thing that we need to consider is, does he have possession? Obviously has possession. He's bringing up the ball. No shit, Sherlock. The next thing is, does he have direction? Well, he does have direction, and that's because he's moving straight towards the goal. And the next thing that we need to consider is, does he have time, space, and options? And he has his teammates who are his options. It's like a 3v2, taking out the defender from the situation. And then the other thing that we need to consider is the personnel. And the reason that this would be Spa and not Dogso, obviously, is because there are a few defenders that could get to him. And so I think that's a pretty obvious Spa.
Yep. So after he goes down, run right in and go ahead and issue that yellow card for that stopping of that promising attack. Still in the 20th minute, we've got a couple of really quick decision points. So this black player has possession of the ball, and he kind of loses it there, and with the ball going forward, and he throws his body out to try to get the send it up to his teammates. So, that's another one where he's probably going to fall anyway. Yes, the white player kind of falls into him, but I just didn't think there was anything unfair there, so I was content to let that play. And then you see me wave it off of, no call. But then white gains possession, they're coming up, and right there, that player on the ground reaches his foot out and trips this player. So very, very clear foul here. But what I end up doing, if we look out ahead, I'm going to take it out of the zoom, and let's look out off to the left. Let's take it out of the zoom, and let's look out ahead. So I'm about to call a foul when I look around, and I see, okay, this player's running at full speed with the ball, and I see that player not making a hard play on the ball. So I see him get past that player, and he's got a really nice breakaway heading, across midfield. If I put it back in the zoom, I'm back here giving the signal for advantage. I might have even yelled advantage, but we end up letting that play, and that's how you tell them, yep, I saw the foul, but I'm gonna let you play on here. On to the 24th minute, we've got a decision here that we can't agree on as we watch it. So this was, I thought it was I think it was a push on the field that I ended up allowing advantage. So I did think it was a foul, but then I thought the team had advantage. So let's watch. The ball is right here. This white player has it. Right here, he sends that ball forward, and then this black player kind of gives him some extra arm and sends him down. So that's the foul that I thought happened. But then I watch where the ball goes, and I see here, like I've got the whistle, I'm about to blow the whistle, but then I look up and I see this player has kind of overrun the attempt to get the ball. This player's about to round the corner and then chase, and I'm looking at it thinking, hey, look, he's got all kinds of options there. He can kick the ball forward, he can kick it inside, he can do it. Now, the black player here makes a really nice athletic move to come in and make a stop there. Plus, I think the white player makes a poor choice. Instead of sending it upfield, he tries to pass it inside. So the advantage doesn't result in anything. But I thought it was reasonable to let play rather than calling it back for the foul. Now, Katie, you think...
And I disagree with this reasoning.
Yeah.
Let's play it back. Okay. So we can both agree that's a foul, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm hung up on is how much momentum does the white player really have to outrun the black player? Because right here, he's literally just rounded one of those things around the corner. So he's basically lost a whole bunch of his momentum from rounding that curve. And then he's got a black player that's right on his heels, has an easier time recovering his momentum and is faster than that player. And what he said, can we play that back, please? No, play it back. And right here, I mean, yeah, he could have kicked it forward, but he wouldn't have had the momentum to go and get it because he wasn't fast enough compared to the other player and just lost a whole bunch of his momentum, doing a curve. And so I thought that it would have been better to just call the foul, and especially because it was only 2 seconds after the foul actually happened, then you can also call it back to the foul.
So tell us in the comments. We can't agree, so we're going to take the half-point deduction, but for not calling it back and instead choosing to let advantage play here. But tell us in the comments, would you let advantage play here?
Our next thing that we're going to comment on isn't really a decision on the field, but is instead something with AR mechanic. So right here, the ball is getting kicked, and right here we can see that 10, he's at the 18, and he's not really moving from the 18. So something to note is that, like, when something like this, you know, could happen, is that you always want to follow the ball to the goal line, because, like, what if the goalie messes up?
Like this.
Like this. Like right here, he's messing up with the ball. What if that ball goes closer to the goal line, and then you can't tell whether or not it went in or it's out, if it's a corner kick, or if we should continue to let play happen. And then we can see that, like, even here, because the goalie messed it up, now we've got an attacking person going to the goal. And so this is another decision where we want to be closer to that goal line. And so, to be fair, this might have been like his, you know, second, third, fourth game of the day, and he wanted to conserve energy. But it's just like something for, like, if you know, fresh pep in your step, trying to impress someone, you should always be going to, like, that corner flag.
And these types of mishandles, you know, they don't happen all the time. They're fairly rare, but man, when they do happen,
it's like 9 out of 10 times it's not going to happen. But when that one time happens, you're gonna be damn well hurt that you didn't go to that line.
Yeah,
like,
nobody's
I
gonna
can say
believe you.
this as experience, but, like, even if you're running towards it, you have more credibility. That's happened to me before, I can say, and that's not a situation that you want yourself in.
So several minutes go by before we have another decision. We're on to minute 36, so coming up on halftime, and the white team's trying to get a breakaway here, but right there he's got this ball at his feet, kind of touches it a little bit too far, throws his body forward to try to kick it forward, and then he falls down. I did not see any, like, arm extension. He does fall in a weird way, which, like, I wish I had an angle looking between them to see, but I thought it was kind of body-to-body contact. I don't see anything here. I think the player also threw his balance off by launching his body forward to get that kick. So I made that a no call on the pitch and allowed it to keep playing. And in the final minute of the first half, we've got what ends up being a fairly controversial call on the field, and actually was a little bit of a turning point in the game in terms of how one team viewed us as the referee crew. Let's break it down here. So the ball's coming in, we can see it here in the air, it's been kicked long, and it's coming down to where this attacker in white is trying to come in and challenge for it. There's a defender also there, and the keeper's going to come in and try to get it. So now let's watch this in full speed. So right there, the ball comes down, and there white falls to the ground, and there become a lot of complaints from the other side, the far sideline, from the camera over over why that's not a penalty kick, which of course they want to be an equalizer. But if we kind of break this down to what actually happens, right here, the ball's up. I was looking at them in a really good, credible angle from behind, and where I could see what happened between them. These two players look, really 50-50, shoulder to shoulder. And then right here, Black actually gets a little bit of a step on him, which is why with this camera angle, when you look through and you see mostly the white shirt and not the black, it's because Black's actually in front of him, closer to that ball. And then you see white, it's fuzzy, but you can see his leg. He kicks up actually really high to try to kind of get that ball, but he's trying to get that advantage around, or, he knows the black player got position on him, so he's trying to whip his leg around it and see if he can touch it up. And, like, Kitty, you commented,
Okay, so I play sports. I'm pretty athletic. I've played, like, basketball for a few years. Like, right here, like, let's just imagine, I'm the player, right? And that man is a dead sprint, right? He's like, and so he's already unstabilized by being at, like, a full sprint, and then you've got the added factor of 1 foot's literally in the air, so now he's basically balancing on 1 foot going a full sprint. And then even his back leg, like we can see right here, even his back leg that's supposed to be like stabilizing him is also off the ground. Like, you're basically falling down either way, low-key. And so, like, on top of that, like, it's not like you're just, like, jumping up. You're also jumping up at an angle with only, like, one part of your body weight there. And so, like, you'd be super unstable. And the black player doesn't actually get any illegal contact, mainly just the normal contact that we would be seeing out of a normal player.
You know, this did end up being a major turning point of the match. It was kind of after that the white team seemed to think that we as a referee crew were, I don't know, biased or out to get them or for some reason. But, you know, really think that's a great call. Happy that the video confirms kind of what we thought on the field at the time. That ended up being the final call of the first half, so we blow it dead. Now, during the halftime, I actually come over to Tin here, who was on that sideline, and I asked him, you know, was there any reason that I might have missed that call? Should it have been, does he have any additional information that we didn't share non-verbally? And he just agreed, no, he thought it was a fair challenge, shoulder to shoulder. And so, you know, kind of after this, I said, well, okay, you know, there's some dissent coming from that sideline now, so let's just watch it as we go into the second half. Quite a bit of time actually goes by in the second half before we've got our first decision that we think is worthy of review here. But the ball is coming up on a fast breakaway. This white defender is going for it, but as is this attacker, they challenge for it, and then right there you see black go down. And I end up calling that as either a push or a pull, and granting a kick for black there from, you know, kind of 5-10 yards outside of the top of the penalty area. Now, do end up getting a lot of dissent from the sideline on this, so much that I actually go over and I talk to the coach and I think give them a sideline warning. But let's just kind of play this in slow motion. So we saw it in full speed, but right here, I think all of this is 50-50. They're all just, you know, both of them are just challenging for it. No fouls there. But then when they lose the ball, it's very difficult to see, but on the far side of this black player, kind of on his upper right-hand shoulder, you see this kind of extension because his jersey's being pulled, I think. And he's being pulled off of it, and then with the white player's, I guess it'd be his left arm, he kind of gives this shove in the back. And so that's why this black player, at least in my mind at the time, and kind of watching it here, why he falls in such a weird manner. So I just felt like I had a better angle on it than this camera does, and then when I saw him go in there, I just saw a bunch of 50-50, and then that white player just tried to kind of hide a quick pull and a quick shove and thought he could turn and get away with it. But then, of course, this also reinforces the white team's perception that we're biased, you know, because they think, oh, there's nothing there. And it's, you know, it's nuances. You've got to have the right angle on it. Got to be looking at it the right way. But I think that's a good call. I think it's fair.
Now, another question that we should be asking ourselves here, would it be spot or doxo? Because we can see that, like, without the white player there, it would be basically one-on-one with the keeper. Let's look where the foul actually happens. So right here, the ball is, you know, it's a few yards behind them, and now they wouldn't have a clear ability to gain the possession because it's already behind them when the foul happens, which means that it can't either be spot or doxo.
In the 59th minute, we've got a call here that we honestly, just looking at the video, we're not 100% sure on, but the ball's kind of coming out to the side. This black and white player are battling for it, and then white kicks it away, and then white falls down. And it's kind of a strange fall because I don't see like any arm extension. He might have been clipped on the ankle by black. From my angle on the field, I was standing, if I look off to the side, I was standing at this angle, so I was looking between them. I did not see anything happen between them, so I actually did not call this on the field. But if we watch, my AR raises his flag and, you know, would have had a much more credible angle on that than I would have had. So I basically had to trust his decision there and ended up, you know, calling it there on the field and giving the direct free kick for white.
Something that I would like to mention with the AR mechanics for him is that it's like really good. He raises it in like the hand that he's supposed to so that you can make eye contact with the referee. And so he has his flag in the hand that's closest to the goal side. That's really good. And then something that he does also is to signal direction. Since he's signaling going this way, then that means that he has to like switch hands, which what he does is that he goes under his body right here. Pretty good mechanic right there. Our next decision is going to be an offside call made by moi. I know, you've missed them. My amazing calls. Okay, so right here is the moment of decision, and let's look back on where the players are because they're out of screen, like even with our not in Zoom. They're out of screen, and so this is like the moment of decision. So if we like play forward a little bit, like I know that that's bad, but we can see that white player right there. That's behind the second to last defender line. Because, like, if we play it forward, max player, black, number 6, is all the way back there. White, he's like, he's like 1 or 2 steps in an offside position. But since he's interfered with the play, that is a good offside decision.
Up next, we've got another call that was continued to be kind of controversial, at least for the team in white. But again, as we kind of watch it, I think it's correct here. So black is attacking and going into white's defending third. Right here, both these players challenge for it. I'm going to play it in slow motion first. So black kicks it there, and then white comes in and kicks it immediately following, and so the ball ends up flying way off this direction. But what the foul's really called for is that after the ball's away, he really lowers his shoulder and kind of goes through this player to send him down. So,
and I think to like see the full effect, see it in normal speed, like you can see that man full on like lowers his shoulder and then even adds like a little bit of after. So like, who do you think you're fooling, dude? Like.
We got a lot of noise from the sideline on this. I didn't realize it at the time, but I think we even hear somebody curse here when they must have been closer to the camera, maybe a player over here, but let's listen. Yeah. So I don't know what I would have heard if I'd had the camera and it's been so long, or if I'd had the microphone, but it's been so long I don't remember exactly what was said. But I do remember, now we've had a few calls that are kind of, at least to the white team, seem controversial. Once we break it down, we think that they're right, but it just keeps adding to kind of the ethos in this game. So minute 67, we've got another controversial call just outside of the attacking third for the white team. So this ball is bouncing around, and right there the two players try to go for it, and you see this black player just kind of get cleared out. Now, if we play this back and in slow motion, what we'll see is white actually does get to that ball first. He gets there, but he goes through the body of that black player to get it. So sometimes you'll hear people often say, oh, you got the ball first, that's not a foul. Well, just because you got the ball first does not mean that it's not a foul. If you initiate illegal contact afterwards, then it's still a foul. And in my mind, this is illegal contact. He charges through that player and sends him to the ground. It wasn't like, he got the ball and then the player who lost the ball initiated the contact. That contact was initiated by that white player. So, or
like even if you get the ball first, if getting the ball you initiate illegal contact, it's not even like if it's after you clear the ball and you initiate illegal contact, but it's like if you, like during when you're getting the ball, that you also initiate illegal contact, then it's still a foul.
Yeah. We get a lot of dissent on this one. Let's listen to what the camera can at least pick up. You'll hear some of the players and you'll watch their body language. So it's hard to make out with all of this. You can see the body language of the players. They're like, what? Are we going to get any calls? And you hear some spectators on the other side, or maybe it's the coach, say, he got all ball. And kind of as we've explained here, just because you get the ball, you can't just plow through somebody. So we're going to call that the right decision here. So following that last foul, the player who had been fouled was injured, so it took a couple minutes to get all of that handled and help the player off the field. So this is actually even though it's 2 minutes later, it's actually the kick directly from that last foul. So this player is going to take this direct free kick, and what we're going to see is this keeper's going to save it, and then an attacker's going to come in, and the ball is going to end up squirting out, and he's going to end up scoring a goal. But we have to establish whether or not the keeper actually gained possession of the ball. So is it a valid goal or not? When we played this, the kick comes in, keeper saves it, kind of jumps on it, but this black player is kind of coming in, and then the ball squirts out and he goes in. And I am not 100% sure on the field, is this a goal or not? So I know that I had a certain view of it, but I wanted to know what my assistant referee saw as well. So I immediately, without signaling anything, I run over, I call 10 out onto the field, and we actually talk about this for a few seconds. I wasn't 100% sure, and even when I talked to 10 on this sideline, he actually wasn't 100% sure either, but we both thought it was really, really close. And frankly, because the game was already 2-0 and we were having some crowd control problems with this white team, you know, that probably pushed us to, let's just go ahead and, it was so close, we're not 100% sure. Let's go ahead and say that the keeper had possession. We'll wave off the goal. We'll throw a bone to the white team here, but you know, we thought it could be correct anyway, and we weren't 100% sure either way. So we end up waving that goal off. I think it's the right thing here. It's a little bit applying Law 18 as well, which we've talked about in the past as just being common sense. You know, this is a little bit of a game management call. Very, very close, could go either way, and I'm trying to manage the game in where it's 2-0 and I've got one side already about to run us off the field. So we're going to call that the correct decision, but I think it could go either way. Carrying on to the 70th minute, so not much more than a minute later, we've got black on an attack into the penalty area, and we've got a penalty kick. So I don't really actually think there's anything controversial about this, except for if you're cheering for white and you just don't want to admit reality. But let's watch right there. Mike's coming in, just gets his legs, like there he's got possession. This white player comes in, you can see his legs get hung up, and he goes down. So for me, that is a very clear, very easy penalty kick to call. You can see the keeper's upset. I can't remember if they said much to me on the field other than just the, hey, when are you ever going to call one for us kind of stuff. And there was more chatter from the sidelines about how it's not a foul, but of course, you know, parents don't actually
parents, know. Listen up here. Listen up here. Sometimes arguing with the referee, sometimes, I will say, reviewing these back, sometimes you can be right. But how delusional must you be to claim the victim mentality of my baby could never do anything wrong, so I'm literally going to deny every single evidence to the contrary? Very obvious evidence, may I add, that goes, hey, maybe it wasn't a foul. Maybe I was wrong about it. Maybe my kid did do that. Or, you know, accept the reality that, hey, you know, maybe we can't win them all the time.
So we do end up granting the penalty kick there. Now, I think the player ended up missing the kick, kicking it wide or something, so it didn't end up hurting white in the end, but the score stayed 2-0 at this point, but definitely the right decision. So now I want to show a moment in the video where it kind of is a precursor to what happens next. And this is a moment I really wish I had the microphone on because the audio would have been great content. But you'll see I'm standing here in the middle of the screen, and then there's this player in white off to the side, and he comes up and he says something to me. So he gets my attention. So what he says here is, "Ref, I just want to know, was it small or big bills?" And I had no clue what context he was saying, what he was trying to convey. I almost ignored him, right? But it did, like in my mind, it was such a weird thing to say, and I couldn't figure out the context that for the next couple of minutes, it's running in my head of what, trying to piece it together of what he meant. So we'll see what that means in just a second. Now in the 75th minute, the white team has actually rattled off a goal. So now it's a 1-goal game. Tensions are even higher than they've been at any point in the match. And we've got, we're down in white's defending third. So the ball is coming in here. Black gets position, and then just right here, white charges through him. So, I mean, that ball is in front of this black player. This white player comes through his back and just goes through him, sends him down. So for me, that's a very straightforward kind of textbook charge, I call it. They're not happy about it. Of course, at this point, I don't think they're happy about any calls in the match at all. But, I think it was the right call on the field. I think it's the right call looking at the video. So So we're coming up on the end of the game, just kind of one decision plus some dissent to deal with here. But this white player number 9's kicking the ball into this kind of group of players here. And as the ball comes in, Black's trying to get it. White kind of steps in this player's way, and as he kind of comes through and gets that ball, he also gets tripped by the outstretched leg of that number. I don't have the number, but as that white player there had his leg outstretched, trips him up. So pretty straightforward, simple call. I do want to highlight, though, again, this player here is walking by me, and it's the same player who a couple of reviews ago asked me about the small versus big bills, and he says something else here. He says, again, ref, was it small or big bills? And again, I'm still very confused I have no clue what he's actually saying here. So things right. So I'm going to give that the point for the correct call. But then after the kick on this, I'm walking back and I'm thinking about what was it that kid said? And it's sometime kind of around the time that this kick gets taken that I kind of piece it together that what he's really talking about is bills, as in, was I paid off in small bills or big bills? Meaning, am I out there unfairly calling it for the other team? So I wait for the ball to get kicked out of bounds there. I come up and I just want to make sure I heard him correctly. So I actually walk over and I ask him, so were you asking me, was I paid in small or big bills? And then he kind of foolishly says, yeah. And so then I end up saying, okay, well, we're going to deal with that. And I give him the red card for basically, that dissent and making it personal and provocative about, am I being paid off by the other team? So
then bro has the audacity to go, what did I do?
Right? And so I do end up giving him the red card, sending him off. Now, in a example of what I think is absolutely horrible sportsmanship, after this happens, I end up going over to the coach and I explain to the coach what happened. So, I know it's going to be, not clear what happened. Nobody heard what was said except for me. So I go over and I tell the coach, he, asked if I was paid off in small bills or big bills. And I just got, rather than, some support from that sideline of, hey, look, you can't be doing that to the player. Instead, we got a lot of chuckles and laughs. And I thought I even heard a parent say under their breath something to the effect of, we were wondering that too. So, shocking that kids would, take up that kind of bad sportsmanship when the adults in their lives also don't display good sportsmanship.
It's as if you're shaped by the environment around you. Maybe the environment around you is kind of toxic and supports that mentality when the kid is legitimately 12 in middle school and is saying that type of stuff. Even I'm not saying that type of stuff. And I'm in a high school.
It's interesting. Recently, Katie and I were doing some roughing. And we were just chatting, and she asked me the question, what do you like most about refereeing? What do you like least about refereeing? And my answer for what do I like least about refereeing is it's a front row seat to some of the worst examples of poor sportsmanship, and particularly when we do these youth games. There's so much that sports and everything can teach youth at developmental stages, and then when I see the adults in their lives set such really bad examples, it hits me here. I hate seeing it. So that's what I dislike the most about refereeing.
Okay, even if you're thinking the same thing, and you're thinking that oh yeah, this ref is bad, but if your kid is literally saying that, they're instead encouraging that behavior and going oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And so then as an impressionable 12, 13-year-old, I'm still impressionable now, if my coach is encouraging that type of stuff, then, or my coach, my parents, my teammates' parents, the people that I look up to are saying the same type of stuff and going haha, that's so funny, then that just makes me want to do it again, because now these parents think I'm funny, now these parents think that's okay to do. So if they think, my role models think that's okay to do, then therefore it's also okay for me to do.
So we're going to call that the right decision for the red card on top of the previous just foul decision that led into that. And that ended up being the final call of this match.
So with that ends our match. With 25 decisions and 1.5 deductions, that gives us a final Sapper score of 94%. So that's a pretty good game.
Yeah, borderline on great game. So
Borderline.
we got off to a rough start with the very first decision being wrong.
100% negative energy, 0% Sapper score.
But we had to come back once we got warmed up. But
and I think those were pretty big bills being paid with that score.
This was an interesting one, and it kind of shows you how like a single call like that one right before halftime when they wanted that penalty kick, and people see it the way they want to see it. We sometimes say that when there's a 50-50 call, people only see their 50, right? But it shows how it can switch people's mindsets in the game, and then it's hard to recover from it. But also, like, I don't know what else you want us to do as referees, because we look at all of those kind of controversial calls where the white team thinks they were biased. Like, video kind of supports how we called it, right? So
it's as if we're not biased and we don't get paid. I have never had a team offer to pay me money to let their team win. The max that I've gotten was youth games after the fact at Gatorade.
Yeah, like
after the fact.
Gatorade and cookies. Thanks for joining us for this one. This was certainly interesting. Our first one in a little while. Now that we're in the off season, we're going to continue. There might be, a couple weeks between reviews. I'm Scott.
I'm Katie. And we'll see you out on the pitch. Dog, if someone actually offers to bribe me with money, I'm taking their money, then reporting them immediately.
If they can report that you accepted the money, it's going to be viewed as you accepted the bribe.
I'll explain. I just wanted the extra money. Mm-hmm. I'm a kid, they'll allow me.
Mm-hmm. You alright? What is this supposed to actually mean? What does that actually mean? I'm too old to understand. Are you just not going to talk? I have no idea what this is going to say. Can't break the mewing streak. What's that even mean? Mewing streak. Fine. I have no idea what this is even about. Okay.
So what are we at now? We're 75% so still regretting life choices.
We're having an okay game now. We're warmed up.
Okay. To be.
Woohoo! We are up over 90%. Up over 90% after the rough start. Let's go.
Bless.
All right.
Okay. I look like a bald egg.
But you're my bald egg.
Got my bald egg from you. This is why I have to wear a hat. Again, I never make wrong offside decisions.
Mm-hmm. Never. And
it's at the 69th minute.
Yeah, and it's in the... Mm-hmm. So right here, this... What are you, 12?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have the humor of a middle school kid.
Mm-hmm. And, I don't even know why it would be controversial, but, give that one for another direct free kick for White just outside of the penalty area.
Well, that's because maybe, white team, hear me out, could be biased for their own team.
Yeah.